Hello and welcome to another episode of the Greater Meaning Podcast. As always, I am your host, Andrew, alongside with my two co-hosts, Nathan and Josh.
Glizzy, Joshy.
I'm Nathan.
Yeah. Huh.
In the last episode, we journeyed with the Israelites through the Red Sea and into the wilderness on their way to Mount Sinai. And despite the miraculous ways God intervened and delivered them, they quickly began to grumble and complain about the lack of water and food. However, God, in his mercy and grace, provided them with manna from heaven, water from a rock, and even delivered them from the hands of the nomadic Amalekite bandits. Now we arrive at the mountain of God, where the creator of the universe will meet in person with his people to establish his first, what's known as now, the old covenant and law with them. And boys, this is going to be a good one.
We're also covering the 10 Commandments eventually.
Yes, will be the 10 Commandments episode. It's a big moment in Bible history. Even if you're not Christian, you know that you've heard of the 10 Commandments.
Yeah, everybody knows the 10 Commandments. But did you really know there were 15?
There's actually like 636 or so. How many?
There's only 10 Commandments. I'm just making that up.
The 10 Commandments is supposed to be.
Yes.
It's supposed to be the summary of like the whole of the law. Essentially, is what it's known as a Decalogue specifically, and it's supposed to like encompass the general idea or the gist of like the whole law that they're going to be given more in depth, and this covenant.
Yeah, then when you get more in depth, they're like, "Do you have enough turtle doves for this death you're about to have? You know,
for this like, sacrifice? Do you have enough goats here for you?"
I thought there was only 10, but it's like now you do. There's so much more. It gets confusing, everybody, ladies and gentlemen.
Well,
welcome to the book of confusing. That's what it is.
Exodus isn't confusing. I think it's pretty
straightforward.
It's pretty narratively clear. Yeah, you're thinking of Leviticus, which we totally haven't done yet.
I'm not talking about Leviticus. I'm talking about. You're gonna see, because in this. As we've seen before with Moses going up and down the mountain, and God's like, "Hey, anybody who touches the mountain is gonna die," and then he's like, "You know what? Go get these guys." And it's just like,
well, we'll get into that now.
It's interesting studying the character of God, because it's like once you think you can understand, you kind of get how God is, and then it's like he does a whole 180. And it's like you never know. You never know really the character.
I mean, I wouldn't say he's like changing. He's usually the same. It's just getting to know his character and what are things you should and shouldn't do. This is kind of, so God he has an established people. He's taken them through this incredible journey. He's taken through this incredible exodus. And now we finally gotten to where they were planning. Like when Moses went up to Pharaoh, he's like, "Let us go meet with God, you know, and serve and sacrifice and worship over there." And then we're here. We're at the place where they were starting point as a nation collected, and God is ready to talk to them. But before that happens, before God comes down in a fiery glory upon the Mount Sinai, Moses has some logistical things he has to handle that he probably wasn't ready for. We've seen in the last episode, this isn't necessarily the easiest people. They're not the most friendly. They're not the most enduring. They're pretty short-tempered. They're pretty stubborn. They're pretty prone to complaining.
And
Moses is starting to put a lot of the weight on his own shoulders. And if we start with Exodus 18, we get a reunion and a reconnecting of his family, his wife, his kids, and his father-in-law actually comes to meet with them. Nathan, if you want to actually read from chapter 18, verses 1 through 12 for us.
Chapter 18, verses 1 through 12.
Well, maybe not all those verses, but, that's kind of where it starts.
Jethro's advice. And Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for Israel, his people, that the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt. By the way, I'm just going to refer to it as Jethro because it says his father-in-law like a million times. Then Jethro took Zipporah, Moses' wife, after he had sent her back with her 2 sons, of whom the name of one was Gershom, for he said, "I have been a stranger in a foreign land," and the name of the other was Eliezer. For he said, "The God of my father was my help and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh." And Jethro, whom we know as Moses' father-in-law, came with his sons and his wife to Moses in the wilderness, where he was encamped at the mountain of God. Now he had said to Moses, I, your father-in-law Jethro, am coming to you with your wife and her 2 sons with her. So Moses went out to meet his father-in-law, bowed down, and kissed him. And they asked each other about their well-being, and they went into the tents. And Moses told Jethro all the Lord had done to Pharaoh and to the Egyptians for Israel's sake, all the hardship that had come upon them on the way, and how the Lord had delivered them. Then Jethro rejoiced for all the good which the Lord had done for Israel, whom he had delivered out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Jethro said, Blessed be the Lord, who has delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of Pharaoh, and who has delivered the people from under the hand of the Egyptians. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all the gods, for in the very thing in which he behaved proudly, he was above them. Then Jethro, whom we know as Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and other sacrifices to offer to God, and Aaron came with all the elders of Israel to eat bread with Jethro before God.
Moses' father-in-law.
Dad, it was crazy, Dad. I mean, there was so much craziness and death. Dad,
do you think?
You think. Well, here's the crazy thing about this part right here.
Or Daddy.
Jethro comes with his daughter, Moses' wife, and his children, and doesn't say Moses came and hugged his kids, said, "Oh man, I loved you and I missed you, my sweet wife." It says he went out and bowed down and kissed his father-in-law, and then they just went in straight to like talking to each other, like hanging out, like almost just like. Just left them behind and went and had a feast with all the guys.
Where did it say that he sent them away?
Oh, that was before, whenever he went into Egypt to like when he went before the elders, he like left them behind.
Yeah, because that was.
Remember, whenever he was like, I think
mission.
If I'm not mistaken, I don't think it was a suicide mission, but his intention was like, I'm gonna go and then come back. So remember when he was about to die and he had to circumcise, or his wife circumcised his sons. The whole you're a husband of blood. You remember that part? Yeah.
Talk about the character of God, right?
Could be wrong, but I'm not going to go back through and read it right now. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. Quite a happy reunion. So there was definitely, you got to remember that Moses and Jethro spent 40 years together. When Moses fled from Egypt and he was effectively exiled, he lived in the land of Midian, and that's how he got to know. And he tended Jethro's flocks, and he was this reunion. I mean, it makes sense, but I just thought it was funny how the Bible specifically mentions their reunion and not Moses's reunion with his wife and children. I feel like that was a little.
Well, I'm sure
Jethro.
Well, have you ever seen Prince of Egypt?
Yes.
You really can't tell. I don't know how that's going to help.
First off, Jethro must have been old, because if Moses at this point is 80, well, he's probably somewhere about 100, maybe 110.
Yeah, he's a grandfather at this point. They have kids who are.
He's still in good shape. He's still wandering around wherever they are.
I think that song that Jethro sings in Prince of Egypt is one of my favorite songs.
What song does he sing?
So how do you know what a man is worth?
Hey, and here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. So
I don't remember Prince of Egypt.
No,
Moses when he's leaving
that movie
Egypt
anymore.
with all the group with the big group of people. At what point did he stop by Jethro in the camp? Like, how did Jethro get here? Because they already crossed over. Did they take the easy way? Did they cross the Red Sea?
When he heard, I guess there was messengers or word got out. I mean, I think if everything that happened in Egypt happened, people talk and the word spreads pretty fast, even if it's by mouth.
I get that. But it's like they crossed the Red Sea.
Yeah, they knew that Moses was in the wilderness. There's millions of people effectively walking. And so he's like, okay, there they are over there. We can literally see them across the wilderness.
You can see the dust and like basically like it looks like a mushroom cloud because of all the people walking constantly.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a reunion. Jethro takes this moment to proclaim, because he's known as a priest, right? He was a servant of the Most High God. And I think we talked a little bit about that when we first introduced Jethro. I think it's Exodus chapter 2.
Yeah.
That he is effectively, according to the Bible at this point, it shows that even though he proclaims God to be higher than all other gods, it was well known and established that he was a monotheistic priest. He was a descendant of Abraham and Keturah, his second wife. Midian was a child of Abraham and Keturah, and effectively, I've used that word like 10 times already this episode. Essentially, throughout the genealogies in the land of Midian, that's where Jethro comes from. So there would have been some connection to knowledge of the one true God, and it would have been passed down. So a priest would have been the one that, led the family, if you will, the leader, the one that sacrifices if you remember, he also has another, like Ruel is another name that is used for Jethro. We talked a little bit about that last time, but
you're right. He was definitely I would say that he was monotheistic in the term of he believed that God was God above all. Obviously, we do see in this time that there was a lot of other lowercase g gods that people were worshiping.
Yeah, for sure.
So him saying this, it's like, I'm not saying that he thought it was like, like a casino or whatever, where like he was taking a gamble on God or something like that. But it's pretty nice when you're on a team and then you realize like, man, I am on the best team ever. But like, it takes a moment to really realize it sometimes, because if you've noticed, like, God must have not done all these signs before. So people were following God, and then God at this point was like, okay, now I'm going to show you. And even later, it's like Moses is glorifying God, and he's talking to God, and he's saying, I mean, what other God out there? There's no other God that shows himself to us and does all these good works the way that you do. So
imagine
all these other gods are just non-existent. In other words, like they like to rule from afar, but they never get personal like how God does.
Imagine this too, because again, like I just said, Jethro would have come from a family line that was given knowledge of God. Abraham being his ancestor, he would have known the story, would have known what happened. And he hears all these things that God did for Abraham and for Isaac and for Jacob. And then you have hundreds of years of those people in Egypt under bondage and slavery where God is not working. So Jethro's whole life, he would have never seen God work in the ways, because it says he would have never done that for a people before the way he did it for the Israelites. So he's a man that's brought up with this tradition, this service, but he would have also been so close to where he knows about Egypt. Egypt is the biggest powerhouse in the world at the time, and they have their own gods and their own pantheons and priests and technology. Like, that would have been the most advanced thing. And now all of a sudden, this lineage that you're brought up from, you hear that the God that you serve completely destroyed all their gods. And that level, when he hears that, and he's like, this is who my father and my father's father and my father's fathers told me that is the true God and where we come from, and we were called for that. It would have been such a vindicating moment that he makes this declaration that he knows, now I know. It's like this idea of like, man, maybe I've battled with that this whole time. Like, yeah, I'm going through the motions. I'm a priest and I believe these words, but this is indisputable proof that now I know the Lord is greater than all lowercase g gods, as you said, because they have, because of what he did and the way he delivered them. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. And Jethro has a purpose in narratively for being introduced here at this part of the story too. You see, and I'm not going to make, because essentially if we were going to make Nathan read everything, we were reading like
all of it,
just 4 chapters straight. But
he gives Moses some advice on delegation.
The next day they go around and he finds that Moses, after they supped together, essentially before God, it says
they had food together.
Yeah, that's an important thing. But it said that Moses the next day sat to judge the people, and the people stood before Moses from morning until evening. Like, imagine how many people, like Moses literally set himself up to like every small problem, every disagreement.
This guy took my cattle. He took my
literally.
cattle.
It's like Jethro sitting there like, I thought you were educated, Moses. You
think somebody goes up to Moses like, am I ugly? No. Okay.
See, Cynthia, Moses doesn't think I'm ugly.
Can I divorce her? What's divorce? Oh.
So Jethro, having some super solid life experience and wisdom, shares that with Moses. And we have a very famous delegation advice given by Jethro to Moses.
Yeah, he tells Moses, hey, man,
this is not a good thing you do.
Do like, split up the work with some able-bodied men.
Mm-hmm. Essentially, he says, select from men such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such men to be rulers over thousands, rulers over hundreds, rulers over 50s, or rulers over 10, and let them judge the people at all times. So pretty much it's like middle management creation, like have the small people, and then you go up this corporate ladder of complaints. And then the really big stuff, you can come to you and you can take it to God and you can judge between it. And so it says Moses heeded the voice of his father-in-law and did all that he said.
It's as if he's describing a pyramid.
But it's like,
and they're from Egypt.
But here's the thing: is like Moses was educated, lived his life with. I'm pretty sure they knew power structures. But what do you think? Why do you think he did? I don't know. We don't have to talk about it.
There was one power structure Moses knew was, I sit on the throne and you all tell me your problems and I judge you the way I see fit.
Is that what Pharaoh did all day? Did he just take every complaint and then everybody just worshipped him?
That's what they did in Game of Thrones.
There were certain days that were designated for judging, like being the judge.
Yeah. You just sit there as king or whatever, and people come before you, and they're like, my sheep wandered in his land, and he took my sheep, and that's supposed to be my sheep. And you're like,
I mean, later on, God,
brand?
It is interesting because later on, God definitely like goes on all the little details, like if
they break down the rules of like how to
into
treat
someone
each other.
else's. If your cattle wanders into someone else's property and accidentally kills that person, then who's to blame? It's like all these little rules that you wouldn't think of. Like God addresses it. God definitely addresses it.
Social
at this point in
justice
time,
and
Moses was the one that was
laws.
addressing it, and Moses was the voice of God almost at this.
Yeah,
right
this
now.
is definitely pre-law, pre-rules, This is very much so a raw, unorganized kind of jumble of people who have been in slavery for hundreds of years.
Do you think that God sent Jethro, or this is just like a good coincidence that Jethro just so happened to be coming to give this advice?
I mean, he was coming to reconnect because they were family, but I don't think that it was coincidence. That I think everything in Moses' life was orchestrated specifically, and there were people placed in his life to provide the necessary. Because you see, after Jethro gives this advice, essentially, like his role in the story is pretty much done. It says, then Moses let his father depart, and he went away his own land. Like he just left and kind of did his own thing after that. Like, and it's a good story, and it's a good example for like, because everybody has in-laws. Everybody that gets married has in-laws, and taking wisdom from other sources. Like Moses could have very much so had like a big head. He could have had a big head right now, and he could have like just been like, oh.
I was about to say that.
What were you going to say?
Unless you're an outlaw.
Laugh, Andrew, laugh.
I'm not fake laughing to that. Anyway, yeah, Moses showing his humility. Nice. You're really bad at the horse noises.
I'm not that guy from Police Academy. Sorry.
Yeah, Moses definitely.
He gave him advice. Moses listened.
He said,
he's like,
guy. Moses, listen, one word, delegate, and he left. but we're talking about this for an hour. I don't know why.
We don't have to.
This does hit a key thing on the head, because you are right about Moses, that you could see that he's not really
too proud to like. Take
he's
advice.
not proud. He doesn't want this role. He didn't. He wasn't fascinated by it I would say even from the very beginning, and he's more than happy to step down if he can. It seems like so.
Yeah, we're gonna see that it's kind of impossible to do later, just because Moses really gets deeper and deeper as like the guy.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, you're right.
Let's go to chapter 19 there.
Nathan, read the first two verses. So now Jethro departs, and very, very specific dating here. But yeah, Nathan.
In the 3rd month after the children of Israel had gone out of the land of Egypt, on the same day they came to the wilderness of Sinai. For they had departed from Rephidim. Be quiet. Rephidim had come to the wilderness of Sinai and camped in the wilderness. So Israel camped there before the mountain.
Bum, bum, bum.
And Moses went up to God.
Well, that's a good.
The Lord called him from the mountain.
It's funny you say that because there's this idea, I guess, if you don't really study it and don't really look into it, people have this imagery of like they get there and then Moses takes like a trip and then comes out with the 10 Commandments and then the golden calf incident happens. But when you really read it, there's like Moses is up and down that mountain kind of constantly. Like there's a lot that happens in between, like them getting there and then getting the 10 Commandments. Like there's some pretty insane details between arrival at the mountain, golden calf, getting instructions, and then go.
You shall say to the house of Jacob.
Are you trying to do that one voice from Aladdin?
And tell I could do that voice from Aladdin if you want me to.
Yeah, the desert lion.
Who disturbs my slumber?
That was crazy with the bass. That was kind of insane.
I was looking around for the Aladdin movie and nothing was playing.
Out the diamond in the rough.
All right. Anyway, back to the Bible.
That was painful to do now.
It sounds like it. It sounds like it was really. Anyway, this says Moses went up to God on the mountain, and the Lord called him from the mountain, saying, "Thus you shall say to the house of Jacob." Nathan, actually, if you want to read, they're at the mountain. There's not really a lot of details here other than the fact that they left the desert of Sinai and then directly entered the wilderness of Sin, or Sinai, essentially. And there's multiple wildernesses. We talked about that, but they're here at the mountain. And the first trip up the mountain, God called Moses up the mountain and proposed the covenant. And if the people will obey him, they will be a treasured possession. It literally calls them a holy nation, a kingdom of priests. And God called them all to the mountain, and they must represent God to the earth, and they must represent earth to God, and they need to go through this period of sanctification, essentially, to prepare to meet with God. God specifically wants to come down and meet. But God calls Moses up the mountain the first time just to kind of say, hey, let's get ready to this. I called you here to make you a treasured possession, a holy nation, different, set apart from every other nation in the world, different than what you've seen, different than what you've experienced or ever heard of. And I thought that's pretty cool. But the people, Moses comes back down and the people agree to obey the Lord's command. And then Moses essentially ascends to relay the response to God, and then descends back down in verse 9. And in verse 10,
terrified.
Moses ascends. Well, there's right now there isn't any visible smoke or fire. They just got to this mountain and they just keep seeing Moses going up and down. Like the third time in verse 10, they received the instruction as to what they need to do specifically. I think it's verse 10 here.
It's not.
Oh, no, it is. Go to the people and tell them to consecrate tomorrow. Let them wash their clothes, and then let them be ready for the third day. On the third day, the Lord will come down upon the mountain in the sight of all the people. And it's important to note here that specifically the instructions are that they're supposed to set a bounds around and take heed that they don't go up to the mountain. They don't touch it. They don't touch its base, because whoever touches the mountain is going to be put to death. And it says they'll surely die. But you can't, it's interesting because they're like, you can't, anybody who touches the mountain when God descends upon it, you can't just like go up to them, take them and grab them and kill them. Like you have to long distance kill it, like either stoned or shot with an arrow, and whether it's an animal or a person. It doesn't have to just be a person. Like if a rabbit scurries and jumps on the rock, like you got to shoot it with an arrow somehow and kill it.
What happens if you don't? What happens if they're like, we don't want to kill that guy?
You go tell the big fire mountain that you're not going to do what it says. Okay? I don't know.
No, I mean, just like, what if like, oh, there's enough people throwing rocks. I don't need to throw rocks.
Well, they see, they're instructed that they'll see what's happening, and then they'll blow a long trumpet. And when the trumpet sounds long, that's going to be their signal that they can approach the mountain as a people all together. And I want us to understand this idea going forward and how God addresses them. He instructs them to consecrate themselves as an entire nation, not as like the individual priests, not just Moses who's going to relay the information. He wants them all, because he wants to make them a kingdom of priests, essentially. He wants everybody in that nation to represent a priesthood individually. And I think that's a beautiful idea, that he unites these people and gives them all this purpose and wants to address them all as a whole united front. But yeah, even after consecration, they're still at risk of divine judgment. The consecration just allows them to draw near to receive, but you still can't go up the mountain and talk, like touch the mountain specifically. And then we have verses 16 through 25. Nathan, if you could actually read those 9 verses for us, please.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Is it?
Yeah, dude, I'm not reading all that.
Oh.
I mean, it's just, I can, but it's a lot.
We'll just start with 16 and we'll stop here. But I want this part to be read, because they go through this. They're supposed to wash their clothes. They're supposed to keep away from their wives. They're supposed to remain like clean, set apart, holy, which is, again, the definition of holy is set apart, different, separated from everything, and prepare for this encounter with the God that just rescued them out of bondage of 400 years.
Then it came to pass on the 3rd day in the morning that there were thunderings and lightnings, and a thick cloud on the mountain, and the sound of the trumpet was very loud, so that all the people who were in the camp trembled. And Moses brought the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. Now Mount Sinai was completely in smoke, because the Lord descended upon it in fire. Its smoke ascended like the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain quaked greatly. And when the blast of the trumpet sounded long and became louder and louder, Moses spoke, and God answered him by voice. Then the Lord came down upon Mount Sinai at the top of the mountain, and the Lord called Moses to the top of the mountain, and Moses went up.
So that just imagine this scene. Like, the mountain itself is shaking. You have like literally just a black lightning fire, and then you just hear this trumpet out of nowhere sounding. Like, and then Moses himself is like, hey, come up here. Like that's just, imagine being in the shoes of the Israelites. You've seen some pretty wild things up until now, like things that nobody's ever seen before. You've seen like a sea parted. You've seen, plague after plague. You've seen God deliver you from dying of thirst and armies. But for this moment right here, it's one of my favorite biblical moments. It's such an epic moment where it says that God himself came down, and literally the mountain itself just caught fire. It's an incredibly
before, when God was
beautiful
talking
image
with Moses on top of the mountain, God was not down.
No, not in this sense. So, because it said specifically, I'm going to present. He's presenting himself before the people. He's giving the people a visual representation to lay their eyes upon. Does that make sense? Like he's doing something intentionally to wherever, because whenever he showed himself to Moses, it was one little bush that was on fire that didn't burn up.
Yeah, but on top of the mountain, I'm talking about like before there was a thundercloud.
Before it doesn't say. It doesn't. I mean, I'm sure that. How did God speak to Moses specifically?
On top of the mountain?
Maybe. I think maybe
the burning bush was following him.
Maybe he just went up there and he closed his eyes and was praying and meditating, and he would hear the voice of the Lord audibly.
That could be it.
That's, I guess, the more traditional way, if you were to like kind of make it easy to understand. That's what I would think.
I mean,
but now
God moves. I mean, through the Holy Spirit and everything. Yeah, I mean, it happens. We see it happening later on. It happens today. Yes.
I think this is the fourth trip up the mountain over here where he calls them up there. And he also specifically goes, he goes up there, and then God warns Moses to tell the people lest they break through and to gaze at the Lord, and many of them will perish, because, you can't look upon God and live, which is an interesting statement that's multiple places throughout the Bible, but further before the end of this episode, we're going to have an encounter where the priests and the consecrated children and Aaron and Moses, they actually get a vision of God where they actually break through. But he tells them to go down and to grab the priests, which would again be the Aaron and the children of Aaron.
Oh yeah. Before we get to that part, I know I've mentioned it probably before, but this sounds an awful lot like a spaceship, you know? It sounds like a rocket coming down and landing on top of the mountain.
I'll give you that it does, like fire coming down does look like how when Elon Musk brought down the rocket, just a fire landing.
Yeah.
But it says that the smoke was going up like a furnace.
All right, once and for all, is God an alien? Let's do it.
Is this what we're doing? We're just
Let's go there.
Welcome to the segment. Is God an alien? Josh, your argument?
Well, an alien is someone that is not from Earth.
Interesting definition.
You know what I mean.
I don't even.
I'm trying. I get the technically. Yeah, I get that. You know what I mean. Is he the superior being from another planet that designed us?
If God showed up now, and we see him like how it does say, like Jesus will come descending from the clouds with chariots and basically like a bunch of warriors. I mean, tell me, if we all see that, that's like, where you coming from, dude? You know, you're not coming from the earth. You're coming from up above. So
it's a really good point.
An alien it is.
Because again, it's like putting God in the dimension of physical reality only. Like he had to go up to come down. Does that make sense? Like even when we talked a little bit about this with the Tower of Babel thing,
yeah.
Like, when it says let us go down, it doesn't mean like God technically omnipresent is everywhere, always, all at once. You know, and it's this idea where
here's another way to look at it.
Once.
Everything everywhere all at once. Is that a movie?
If Jesus left, he could have just disappeared, but he didn't. He went
He ascended.
He ascended.
Because there is an idea also of like the heavens and the higher exalted, lifted up places. Like that is real. Like the firmament above and above that.
So it is like Star Wars out there.
But it's like, it's more, in my idea, it's fuller. There's like a deeper, like he's in every dimension, every reality, also physically up, but also inside and out and beyond. You're right. Again, if we could fully comprehend it, if we could grasp it with our brains, then he wouldn't be God. You know what I mean?
No, God is God. God.
It's the simplest thing to do is to, as a human, when you're thinking of somebody greater or bigger than yourself, like a mountain, you look up. So God using this idea or this imagery, like he's in the mountain, on top of the mountain. We've talked about this before, the importance of mountains and how often God uses elevated places to reach his people, to teach his people, to talk to his people. And this imagery of like, now he's presenting himself as this physical, all-consuming, powerful, earth-shaking presence that can light a whole mountain on fire. That's, I believe, is specifically for the Israelites to be able to grasp mentally this image of being presented with what God could be. Because if they were to get close to it, they would be consumed, right? Like, and God calls Moses up there that time, that fourth time, and says, get the people, the priests and the 70 elders, and come back up here. I want to talk to you all specifically. And Moses literally said, he's like, the people cannot come. You literally just said, don't set bounds and consecrate it. And God's response in verse 24 is actually kind of funny. He's like, away, get down. Then you come up, you and Aaron with you, but do not let the priests and the people break through. Okay, my bad. It wasn't this part where he wanted everybody. He just wanted Aaron.
Listen, we didn't really answer the question with
is God an alien?
I believe God is he's like on a different plane of existence.
That's exactly what Andrew said.
Yes. But like more massive than the galaxies. It's like an energy. Like, I don't know, man. It's kind of like
he's spirit. The Lord is spirit.
yeah. So
what
like
is a spirit?
Energy.
No, you
But
can't
that's
just call
not
the Lord
energy.
a spirit. The
Bible
Holy
does.
Spirit is a spirit.
The Bible says that God is a spirit.
It's
Where?
God, right? So I mean, it's
God
hard
is
to
everything.
describe. Yeah.
God is everything.
I know. It's you can't just say
Everything
he's one
comes
thing.
from God. Everything
'Cause-
comes from God's spoken word.
Mhm.
God is everything. So if God's showing up in a cloud of fire, that's obviously not
What does
a
that
spirit.
mean?
What spirit
That's
have you
more for
seen
us.
that is
It's
a cloud
not
of
that
fire?
God shows up in a like he did that.
It's not like every
For
time God
us.
shows up, that's how he has to show up because that's his.
I feel
that's
like
his
he,
form.
I
Exactly.
feel like he did that for Israel.
Exactly what I said.
Yeah, but I'm saying it
That
more
is exactly what
eloquently.
you said. He did do it.
You
for
do speak
Israel.
more eloquently. Than
I
me.
am saying it a lot better, and I sound
did it-
better saying it.
He did.
Can
do
you
it
say
for
it in the
representation
desert
of
lion
Israel.
voice?
No, that really does hurt my throat when every time
I really wanted you to
I
read
have,
it,
like-
to read that passage.
I have like 10 of those left in my life, I think, dude, because like my throat was really reeling from, especially considering I just lost my voice a few days ago. So it's kind of.
I find it interesting that it was on the third day, right? On the third day, that's when the trumpet sounded, and then the presence of God came down. It's all. I mean, it's so much foreshadowing of even later on.
Oh,
right?
dude.
On the third
Dude.
day,
Yeah, it's on the
there's
Thursday.
trumpets,
Yeah.
and guess what happens on the third day with Jesus? The whole earth is shaking because the presence of God. Like it's going wild, right?
He resurrects. Yeah.
It's on Thursday, the third day.
Thank you, Nathan. We heard that joke. I ignored it on purpose.
Why?
It's a bad joke.
No, it's not. Monday, 1 day, Tuesday, 2 day, Wednesday, what day? Ooh, what? Thursday is the third day.
W from
That's,
Wombo.
that's from Friends. You don't remember Joey
No,
saying that?
I don't remember
No,
that.
I didn't watch Friends.
I didn't like Friends.
I don't like either of you right now.
I don't have friends.
I'm so mad.
Out
that
of all
both
the
of you
classic like sitcoms, that's the one that aged the worst.
said- why?
I'm just, I'm 29
It
and
did not age the worst.
it,
What are you
it
talking
did.
about?
Like I could watch Seinfeld and it's still as relevant. Like it's still
Friends
fun.
is still hilarious. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I don't know.
I could show you. All right. If
MASH?
you want to put money on this, I'll get it. You'll laugh so hard you won't know what to do with
I
yourself.
promise I won't. I've
promise
tried
you you will.
recently to
No,
like.
you didn't. You
I
don't
like
know
MASH.
what to
MASH
watch.
is a good show. That
Okay,
was a good
okay,
show.
Grandma. Let's calm down. MASH.
I'm pretty sure Grandpa
Like
only watched
I don't
MASH.
even. The only people I know that watched MASH were Romanian immigrants that didn't speak English. All right,
This
They
is
would watch
Little House
America.
on the
They would-
Prairie. Still
Dude,
one of
Josh-
my favorite
Josh-
shows.
start with Little House. On
Josh
the
does
Prairie.
watch Little House unironically, like it tried to get me into
I
it.
hate that
He
so
watches that
much.
with his
No,
wife.
I've already finished it. Me and my
That's
wife,
insane.
we binge watched it, watched all the
That's
movies,
great.
everything in order. Fantastic show. Definitely
I'm
recommend.
glad
it.
that
I'm
we
gonna-
got a.
Take this friends challenge with you. By the way, I'm coming over one of these days, and I'm gonna force you and your wife to watch.
We've
certain-
watched it. We've watched it together.
No,
So-
certain You got to know which episodes to watch. That's going to generate the laugh.
Listen, if I have to like find the episodes,
No, you don't
I'm like-
have to. But I know that there's certain episodes.
I'm not saying that there aren't funny episodes in it.
Raw, like you're gonna my sandwich. You don't know that you telling me that's not funny?
Mm,
That's pretty
Yeah,
cheesy.
right. You don't even
Meh.
know what I'm talking about.
Like,
man,
if
is that
somebody
somebody
wants
like
to
the
say that
Thanksgiving sandwich and then
at-
somebody eats it at work?
yes,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know the show well.
yeah.
Not
I
funny.
would get up from
The
the, table
broken
and leave if
refrigerator?
somebody said that.
That I don't remember, but it's not that funny.
Oh, your
Yes, it
refrigerator's
was-
running.
My dad, who doesn't particularly like Friends, laughed really hard at the broken refrigerator episode.
Yeah, you don't have to like someone to still find them funny once in a while.
Yeah,
No, I agree. I'm not saying there aren't any funny parts,
Like,
but
aged
as
the
a
worst.
whole,
No, what aged the worst? There's other shows that aged way worse.
Not
than
The Nanny.
Friends. The Nanny.
So they set
was terrible in
boundaries
its day.
around. I see.
All right, let's get
they
back to
set
the
boundaries
takeaways.
around.
I'm
the
sorry,
house.
we went off.
thank
on a
you for
tangent.
sparing with us through this very passionate conversation
I am
about
sorry.
TV shows. If there's one thing that really could get Nathan into the conversation, I'll be honest. It's
That's not
good
true.
TV shows and movies. You're not.
That's not just the only thing. I like
No,
the
I'm
Bible.
saying if there's a thing. Okay, my bad.
it's not my place to talk in this thing. I'm the reader.
You could talk, Nathan. You're obviously anyway.
Let's get back to it. So we
Oh
were-
wait, get down, and then you will come up. You and Aaron.
Exodus chapter 20 now. The
Do
10
not let
Commandments.
the priests break through, lest he break out against them. So
No.
Moses went down, and the people spoke to them. Now, Important detail. Exodus chapter 20 is the chapter that we receive the 10 commandments.
Wait,
what do you mean? Wait,
I was talking about the character of God, and this is one of those examples. God sets up boundaries. He's like, nobody touch him. Nobody can come up. And then God's like, go get Aaron. It's like, whoa, wait a second. Like, what's going on here? But we'll hit on that.
Listen,
again.
Josh, we skip stuff we don't understand. We just move past it. I'm just kidding. No, it's
what's the big controversy? You told him to get Aaron.
Because
he
God
just said, get Aaron, and Moses was a little confused because you just told us to do all. You gave me very specific instructions on like don't let anybody else come up here. But the thing is, like, imagine how tired Moses is, like climbing up and down this, like his calves, like he's probably like he's old, and he's like, Moses, come here, like goes all the way up the mountain and go get Aaron, come back.
He could have just told them from. Well, I wonder, was only Moses able to hear when God said, "Come here," or did everybody hear?
Great question. I love.
Or was it kind of like someone's waving a flag up top, like God's like, blah, blah, blah. Oh, there's a signal.
All right, so very important question that you've asked, and that does help us segue into Exodus chapter 20, not Genesis. Nathan,
chill
if you
out,
can read, I just Nathan, if you can read
really
verses 1 through 21. I'm just kidding. No, just read the first couple verses here.
Of what?
Exodus chapter 20.
Oh, okay. No.
Okay, thank you.
And God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself a carved image, any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands, to those who love me and keep my commandments.
Now that right there is probably one of my favorite verses. Showing mercy to thousands, and there's other verses like that, but it's so important to note that love me and keep my commandments. And it's so important to note that, you know, God is often put in as like, he's merciful, he's love. How come he allows this? How come he allows that? It seems hypocritical, but God is very clear from the beginning. If you love me, and loving me means keeping my commandments, keeping my statutes, keeping my ways, there you have access to my mercy. Then you know what I mean? It's like, or if you break a law, then you are subject to judgment to the law. And God being a righteous God, a holy God, he is going to enact that judgment. What?
I just visually imagine, like, you know, third and fourth generation, just like, you know, 80 years later, like you're the great grandchild of your grandpa, and you're just chilling, and then all of a sudden, like, like an angel shows up and just slaps you in the face, and this is because your grandfather he bowed down to a rock.
You talking about like, the third and fourth generation? He's cursed? Yeah,
it's just like you have no idea that your great grandfather
just living your life with an angel. Yeah, it just slaps you.
Well, you know the saying, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what that kind of implying, that God is actually saying, yeah, maybe your third and fourth generations is gonna follow the patterns you set forth.
Oh, I thought it meant more of like you're similar to your lineage.
Yeah, but you're similar. That's what I'm saying.
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree is like, but then what happens to the fifth apple? That fifth apple falls far enough from the tree?
Maybe the fifth apple is just more delicious.
I see where you're coming from. I think it's just God just making that point very severe. It's like, hey, if you choose to bow down to another God,
I'm like, friends. You know, who doesn't like Honeycrisp apples? It's like the only one that's good. I'm sorry, Josh. This dude's ridiculous today. I don't even.
He doesn't even want to be here anymore. Friends and apples.
Dumb.
That commandment is one of the.
What apple do you like?
Granny Smith.
Yeah, back in the one that crumbles in your mouth.
No, golden delicious.
You know what?
Sorry, Josh.
We all have our opinions, Nathan. Okay, we all have our own opinions and our own things we like.
Some of them are just wrong opinions.
Listen, back to Ten Commandments, because we're officially in the Ten Commandments.
I was saying that commandment is one of the longest commandments there.
You shall have no other gods before me.
Yes, that was a very serious point that he was trying to make with them.
Yeah, obviously. But before we continue on, I just want to I want to mention, because you asked, like, did Moses only hear God? I want it to be very clear here that God is
only Moses hear God.
Yeah. God is speaking directly and audibly to all the people here. They all can hear him say, you shall have no other gods before me. Like, this is not something that Moses is like coming back down and saying to the people. This is a moment they're having united as a kingdom of priests, where they're like in front of this fire mountain, and God is telling them word by word, and they hear a voice, like they heard the trumpet. It's an incredible moment, and it scares them greatly. But yeah, establishing that all other gods.
What's the point of the Ten Commandments?
What do you mean? What's the point
actual
of the
tablets?
To keep record. Why is that hard? Why is that the part that makes you mad? I don't just. You wrote it down.
Yeah, you recorded it.
They're gonna have kids. They
didn't have tape recorders back. That was their tape recorder. So they could like, hey, remember when God said this?
I agree.
It's funny that that's what made him the angriest. Why did they write it down?
Stop taking notes.
No,
I agree. It's just after, like, God says this, and then after he says it,
whoa.
I mean, I guess we're going to get to that part with God writing on the stones, but
yeah, we'll talk about it. But that's commandment number 1. No, you shall have, very famously, God is like, listen, I am God. All these other gods you've seen, all these that you've grown up with, you've heard of, just like Jethro understood, no other God is like his God. You are not going to worship, because they're going to come into a land, a promised place that is inhabited with other people, other gods, other religions, other belief systems. Yeah, and it's going to be enticing. And God is establishing from the get-go, don't worship anything else. Don't make any images. It's me. I am who you worship.
Let me read the second one now.
You can now go on to the second commandment.
Am I cool for to go to the second one?
Yeah. Wait, because like, I'm gonna play. I'm not saying that I'm gonna play. I'm gonna go on the opposite end, and this might sound a little like, don't take it the wrong way. But doesn't every God kind of say this as well? Like, I am, like, I mean, look at it even from a kingship type of thing. Every king that takes the throne says that they are the greatest king, and puts like statues of themselves everywhere, and then they kind of want to be worshipped. So I'm not saying that God isn't, but it just this probably isn't the first time that these guys heard this before. Saying like, don't worship any other gods. And because, I mean, they blatantly worshipped another god right in front of God before.
Well, here's the thing. They're used to a polytheistic society where there would be gods that were in charge of specific things. So if you wanted fertility
it's
and
still a
lucky
polytheistic
childbirth,
society,
you would go to one god in Egypt. And then if you go to, if you want victory in battle, you go to another god and sacrifice there. And God is
it's
establishing.
Still a polytheistic society, basically.
What do you mean?
They're choosing to.
The whole point of commandment number 1 is you are now monotheistic. So how are they still polytheistic?
Look at it. I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other gods before me.
Yeah, you're going to worship. There are no other gods other than me.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that the other ones, they're lowercase g gods, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist. They chose to worship other gods before, but now he is the sole God that they will worship. I mean,
yeah, but that means that they're monotheistic. They don't believe that any other god is God.
No.
you bring this up a lot. You bring this idea of like they're out there, they're just
because
weaker
it's
gods.
thrown out constantly. What do you mean I bring it? I do bring it up a lot because it's constantly in the Bible. There's constant wars with other gods. We just saw it with Egypt. Like I'm not throwing this out there just to make stuff up. It's blatantly out there. And God's also saying a commandment, you shall have no other gods before me. He didn't say there is no other God. I am the only, he does say that. Wait. I got to rephrase that. He does say I am God above all, but there's constant references of other gods being there. It just, he's the one above them all. It's like, I mean,
a proper understanding of what gods means specifically when they say gods.
And later,
I feel like we've talked about this.
And if you, here's the other thing, if you got banished from Israel and God basically kicks you out of the camp, I mean, look at it from that person's perspective. Who's he going to worship at that point? He's probably just going to turn to another God that in his mind is going to take care of him because this God completely abandoned him, gave him leprosy, said, no more shall you be here, bro.
No.
Mon ami.
Because that
it did happen.
God is establishing that there is no other quote unquote God. The gods, if you will, again, the lowercase g are beings or spiritual entities that you worship that don't, and there's many verses that say they have ears but don't hear, eyes that don't see. They know in this time that they're not real. They don't have influence and power like the God that is their God that actually created and can do things.
I agree.
So, but they're not, when you call someone, you have to understand, when you call something polytheistic, that means they believe in other gods. They're called to believe in one God. And even with the golden calf, they're not worshiping the golden calf. They're worshiping an idea of what they think is now the God that took them out of Egypt, quote unquote. When we're going to get there, you're going to read that. So it's very important that you distinguish and you don't define them as that. You can't just say the Israelites were polytheistic.
Saying that, like, all right, looking at the NFL, there's a bunch of NFL teams, but what is your
Stop
NFL
shaking
team?
your head so hard.
What is your, like, this is the team that you choose to follow,
horrible
no matter
analogy.
what.
Terrible analogy. Because any NFL team could be the best team that year.
Right,
so what is God having a Super Bowl?
Let me try to translate what Josh is saying, right? So Josh is saying that because God says there shall be no other gods before me, and God chose to say it that way instead of saying there is no other God, I am the only one. That's where Josh is like, why would God leave that door, you know, for you, and an interpretation for you to understand that there are other gods. Now I can see Josh's take on that because he's a big Nephilim and stuff like that, and I believe that maybe people worship. I believe that those ideas of like Baal and all these other gods that people worship came from that. Molech came from, and they probably were walking the earth at one point, and people did have encounters with beings of great power, and in the Bible it describes.
I'll give you that, I'll recount that,
and that's where it comes with like other gods. And God is saying, listen, once and for all, I am the Lord of all hosts. I am the King. I'm the God above all gods. In your point of view, the God, because you guys are viewing these other things as gods too. I am above all of that, and you can only worship me. Yeah, you're not allowed to worship them. Is what he's kind of saying. That's where I think Josh is trying to say.
That's yeah.
When you choose God, it's a choice. He wants you to choose him over all. That's why he also says, "I am a jealous God." He wants us to worship him, and he wants us, and it has to be a choice.
Yeah,
it has to be a choice.
Yeah,
but that's where he's coming from now. Whether the word him saying they're not mono, like who cares about that? That's words made up by scientists.
Words mean things, and it could be. You have to be. I get it. That's my bad. I shouldn't have harped on that. And the Israelites themselves, it's funny that this is commandment number 1, but as we're going to go through the story of their history, That's kind of like their biggest thing is like immediately worshiping other gods and falling for the other gods of their cultures and doing things. There has to be something there to where
throughout the whole Old Testament.
Doesn't Jesus say, oh no, he calls the devil the king of this world, not the God of this world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Lord
of this world.
like the ruler of this world, essentially. But the whole earth and the heavens and above the heavens belong to God.
Yeah,
which you know that
belongs to God.
That's what I'm saying. But they rule in terms
that's
of like
what
the
Baal
evil
means.
of this world.
Baal means Lord.
There you go.
But that doesn't mean that he is the Lord. Just because I call myself King Andrew doesn't mean I rule anything.
If Jesus says that he is the Lord of this world, basically like the ruler of this world, then yeah, technically,
don't say it.
Technically, yes.
No.
He came to Jesus and offered him everything. It wasn't God that came to him and said, hey, you can have all of this. I will give it to you. And that's what he was doing with all these guys. I mean, you remember you talked about the golden calf scenario where it was the devil and he created some type of illusion. I get this is like Jewish
What are you talking
lore.
about? We've never talked about that before.
What? Yeah,
This is the episode before that. You're talking about the future.
Oh, I'm talking about the future. Well, we've talked about all of this before we've recorded. So sorry.
No, we're yeah. You shall have no other gods.
Space now.
You'll have no other gods. You kind of buttoned it up. We could move on.
Okay, yeah. So, commandment number 2. I'm gonna say thou because I grew up with thou shalt.
Fill in whatever you feel comfortable.
Thou
with.
shalt not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No image or carving. Oh wait, that's
not it. That this is don't take the Lord's name in vain.
Yeah.
Wait. The image and carving is that's the second one.
commandment.
That's the second. Throwing the Lord's name in vain is the second one.
No.
That's the third.
That's the third commandment.
Oh, wait, yeah, I'm sorry.
Guys, we're doing...
That's where you confused me for a second. I was like, what?
Yeah, I was like, that's the third.
Yeah, that's the third. So that's the third. So.
As you said thou, so I got it.
Yeah, as long as you said thou, honestly.
Yeah. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord God in vain. So that's don't say GD or make oaths with the Lord's
Are we
name.
just, I guess, yeah, well, no image. We'll just briefly touch that.
Well, the no image, that was in the first part I read.
Yeah, it's essentially, but that's also what separates them
from other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself a carved image.
Yeah, everybody else does that. Every other religion, every other belief system had some type of physical image. They're different where they don't have a king and image, anything like that.
Like Americans with the Thanksgiving turkey that they carve.
What?
Okay,
whatever. Anyway, yeah.
Think about it for a second.
The Lord, your name, you have to carve a turkey to eat it.
Oh, but the Lord says don't carve any other god.
Image of God, but you can cut a turkey to eat it. I want slices of the breast.
All right. Commandment number 4. Remember the
Sabbath. Whoa. Why are we going over the name of the Lord in vain so hard?
Oh, I thought you guys didn't want to talk about it because you guys kept going about carving.
No, you said it was the second one, but it was the third one.
All right, man. I'm going home.
Nathan, I think Friends is a good show.
No, that's fine. I'm sorry. I made a mistake.
No, you're good. But don't
take the Lord's name in vain.
Yeah.
Specifically, I wanted to talk about that one just a little bit. Just because we're not going to talk a whole lot about do not murder. You know what I mean? Like the first 4, some people consider 5 commandments are really a representation of your relationship with God. And
people?
What
people consider that?
There are some, generally it's the first 4 and then the last 6. There are 2 sections, but honoring your mother and father is also a way that you show reverence to God. And it's a relationship with an authority figure. So some theologians have argued that commandment number 5 fits the first category of God relationship, man relationship, right? You can't murder God. You can't steal from God to commit adultery against God. You know what I mean? So
God's name in vain. Let's get back to that.
Yeah. The commandments are separated into 2 sections. Anyway, keeping the name of the Lord holy and not taking it in vain is, and while I believe you shouldn't also say like, oh, Jesus Christ, whenever you do a mistake or something like that, or, say God willy-nilly, I think that the taking of the Lord's name in vain is a little bit deeper than that as well. Because specifically, like, what it means really is that you, as soon as you are identified as God's child in today's day, you have that stamp of his name upon you. And when you walk around this world and you are represented to other people, you are carrying that name on you, and you're representing God to them. So when you make a promise and you don't fulfill it, they look at you more than somebody else where it's, oh, this guy just broke his promise. They're like, oh, he's a Christian. I guess Christians break their promise. I guess Jesus doesn't keep his word. I guess Jesus, that you adopt that persona, you adopt that identity, and taking the Lord's name in vain means that you are going against that. You're breaking that and misrepresenting God to others, which is a sin. That's what taking the Lord's name in vain is. It goes beyond just the simple messing up with using your word or saying Jesus' name in vain. It's living your life in vain, living your life not up to the standard in which God and Jesus called you to live. So I just wanted to say
that's like a sermon, but
it's also a statement. I want you to understand that taking the Lord's name in vain is deeper, because everybody's just like, oh, don't say that. That's a commandment, but they'll live their life however they want. They'll say what they want.
Are you saying you should be an honest person?
You should be a man that recognizes that you identify and you're carrying that identity, and other people, when they see what does it mean that Jesus is alive, what does it mean to be a Christian? If you're saying
that this commandment is that,
yeah,
that's
okay.
all right. That's,
keep the Sabbath day holy.
That's tough. That's a tough. No offense, but that is a tough. Like, it's a stretch of a connection.
Or swearing
Don't
to
keep
God.
the Lord's name in vain. Yeah, you should be righteous in your life and live a Christian life, is what that means.
Yeah.
The other way to look at it is like making oaths to God, like swearing to God. Like people probably, like. Yeah,
our yeses
like,
must be
hand
yes
on the
or
Bible.
no's
I didn't do it. Hand on the Bible, or like
that's true.
But see, I think
God.
you're not realizing how often people use the Lord's name in vain. It's like a part of culture. Like, you could make that into, like I said, that's like a sermon. But I mean, that's if you want to make that point. But this is more like, stop making oaths with God involved for no reason.
That's what I mean. Yeah, when you break that oath, you're now making it as if God is breaking that oath, and that's taking his name in vain. But it translates to everything else too. Anyway,
so if a stranger just walked in,
they realize it was that much of a stretch.
They have.
I mean, it's kind of. I follow it, but it's going to be tough, for like the layman. That's like something you could say in a sermon that you're trying to make.
What I'm saying is, that's the point. It's tough. That's why all this, the law, the 10 Commandments, it's impossible.
No, it's not. You're misunderstanding what I'm not saying. Tough to saying tough for somebody to understand, to see that point, reading it verbatim in the verse. Don't take the Lord your God's name in vain. The Lord will hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. Right. And you're like, well, that means you should live righteously. I'm like, well, that's, yeah. But the whole Bible tells you to do that. But this specifically is like, don't put God's name whenever you're making oaths. I mean, it's a very important. People need to understand this.
But yeah, it's okay. But it's beyond oaths. You have to understand it. It's like you're carrying on the identity of God as God's people.
Yeah, but throughout history, people, when they made an oath, like they would grab their girdle, all this other stuff all the time, and put their hands here, and I'm making my oath here that this is blah blah.
Andrew,
Stop doing that in the name of God.
You're going more on the reference of blaspheming against the Holy Spirit.
No, because that's a completely different.
No, that's exactly what you were saying.
No, because
you see what I'm saying, and he's literally right there.
Okay. I'm sorry.
And it's just like, I'm just saying that's a very broad take on that. I don't know. I think it's more like, don't
make promises you can't keep.
It's not only promises, man. It's like, stop involving God in your pathological lies. Like, stop doing that. Stop like making these like agreements and
don't
saying,
take advantage of the power of God. And
may God be my witness. I'll buy this land from you. Like, no, dude, stop doing that. That's God is the witness all the time.
Or
but
it's
you
like,
don't have to.
I had a dream. God told me to marry you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's different, but yeah.
No,
what?
There's how many people do you know that's like? And the
Yeah,
next thing
well,
you
I mean,
know, a couple weeks later they broke. They're not even talking anymore. It's like, did God even have that dream? When you put God in a moment of looking foolish, that's making him look like a fool. That's kind of like taking his name in vain.
That's kind of what I said.
What you said is now irrelevant, Andrew.
All right, cool.
I will say the exact same thing, and you.
My
say
notes
nothing.
that I wrote are specifically more geared towards oath. Anyway,
Good thing nobody can see your notes other than us.
Yeah.
Our
No
notes
proof.
literally says, if you make an oath in God's name, do not keep it. You essentially take away the credibility of your faith and the reliability of his name, is what I wrote.
That's brilliant. I like that.
I didn't read that.
You should have
though.
just read it. You should have just read your notes.
Winged it. All right, let's go to...
We cannot control tomorrow. Our yeses must be yes or no, whatever. Anyway,
next commandment.
this one is like the most repeated thing.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates.
Yeah, if you're visiting
For
their
in
house.
6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath and hallowed it. Do you think if somebody's like had a chariot and a wheel broke on the Sabbath,
you're sleeping there,
and they're like city gates, and then like some guy that doesn't know about their God, like
see, later
he's
on,
trying
Jesus,
to fix it, they're all with
Jesus
stones, like ready to stone them. They're like, whoa, what are you guys doing? You're not allowed to work. You're about to kill me? Like, yeah, you're not allowed to.
Listen, you've already taken way too many steps for today. Like we keep it a sub 500 on the Sabbath.
What I find
What were you
interesting
saying,
is later on, Jesus talks about that, and it's literally like, if don't you go and water your cattle in the mornings? Don't you let them out? It's like that. That's
he
work.
says if you're how many of you, if your ox falls in like a crevice, you just leave it there if it's on the Sabbath. You know, that's the example he gives.
So if that's what Jesus is saying, then why would God not? What?
The Sabbath was created for man, not man.
But Jesus is telling man.
God created the Sabbath for man, not for God, is essentially what I'm saying. Like the Sabbath was for man to stop and hallow it and devote to God and to keep it separate, because God did it as a way to stop, reflect, and focus on God. But what the Israelites eventually do, and the Pharisees and the Sadducees, what they would do is that they would take it to such an extreme that they lost the reason or the purpose for the Sabbath. Like when Jesus heals a man with the power of God, they're like, how dare you on the Sabbath? Not looking at the fact that a man was healed and God did it.
The Sabbath was pretty clear with what God was saying. You shall do no work.
But why?
To keep it holy.
Just to do no work?
To keep it holy because God rested on the seventh. Sabbath.
you shall hallow it. You will spend that day with God.
And it was pretty clear. You shall do no work.
Yeah, because he had to, because people
nor
would
your servants, nor your cattle, no nothing. So it does it get confusing? Yes, that's what I was trying to say.
I can see that for sure. But yeah,
all right.
But he says it a lot. That's like a big thing.
I have no cattle, okay, so I don't have to worry about.
You have like goats and goose and geese and ducks. And
you look like
does that count as cattle?
Chickens
do chickens count as cattle? No,
goats do.
Well, dude, how fast do you grow that beard,
bro?
Man?
Because they were
like.
How is this so long already?
I've been growing this for 2 months. Look at my face.
It's like you use that fast grow in Red Dead Redemption, dude. Like whatever they drink.
I don't use anything. If I did, I don't know what would happen.
All right. Next commandment. This one's very controversial, by the way. Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord your God is giving you.
What does that even mean?
Honor your father and mother.
Yeah, I mean, to live a long and happy life, respect for parents essentially is the same as respect for God. It's life in submission and in training, essentially. The first authoritarian.
Do you think that the Ten Commandments was for a certain period of time?
I would say they're pretty universal and timeless, personally.
It's a moral. It's kind of like built into a lot, like the basis of it. But I mean, like, honor your father and mother. I mean, and your days will be long in the land that I'm giving you. I don't think we're in the promised land right now. Not saying I don't love America, but this technically wouldn't be the promised land. So
good,
right?
I mean, that's fair. I mean, this is all pertaining to the Israelites and going into the promised land that God has given to them. It says, if you want to live long there, do this. But so this is part of, and then we're going to see more of the old covenant that was for Israelites. And now under the new covenant of Jesus Christ, we are all, it says, as children of Abraham. We are all adopted under the new covenant and the receiving of the promise. And that promise, that new land that Christ comes preaching, is the kingdom of heaven. And we all have access to it through the acceptance. We're covered by the blood, and we are no longer subject to the authority of the old covenant or the law. Doesn't mean that you can disrespect your parents, because Jesus specifically said he came to fulfill the law, not to abolish the law. And the laws and the lessons of those generalistic, like, be good to your mother and father still hold true. But you can eat shellfish, you know what I mean? Stuff like that.
But you shouldn't eat shellfish because it's not
the best for you. They're bottom feeders, All
right, next commandment. And this one's also just as controversial. Thou shalt not murder.
I think this one is a little bit weird, considering Moses straight up murdered a man.
Besides that, also, can we kill defending our country, America?
Yes. So there is a difference between fighting in war, and you'll see, because like straight up Joshua will be throwing down, and they already have, and defense and for national security and for the protecting of one's family and loved ones.
Yeah,
is different.
when God sends the Israelites to go massacre, I mean, not just to go defeat whole cities and killing all the women, children, everything in it. It's not murder. It's just part of war. Sure.
Well, the definition of murder specifically is the unlawful, premeditated killing of one human being by another.
So genocide is okay.
Premeditated could also be like 5 seconds before you kill them.
Who said it? That it was like, what is that quote by Stalin? Like, one death is a tragedy, a million deaths is a statistic, or something like that. What is that specific verse or that quote?
I don't know. Let me just think
guy's
about
in
it
hell. Pretty sure. Pretty sure he's burning in hell.
Stalin?
That's such a crazy thing to say.
That Stalin's in hell?
No, it's just that whole. I'm sorry, that caught me off guard.
Me saying that?
I think that guy's in hell. I don't think we should be quoting Stalin on this.
Yeah,
podcast.
I don't want to. Like, I know we're not supposed to condemn anybody. I'm pretty like 100% sure
he had some issues.
Guy,
almost a priest, believe it or not.
Yeah, that guy.
He killed a lot.
That guy was a murderer.
Fun fact: if you guys go and find Josh on our GMP Facebook page, young Joshua here on our podcast looks almost exactly like a young Stalin.
Actually,
if you hold two pictures together,
it's basically like
it's like the craziest. Like, they look the same. And I might post a picture side by side on our Facebook page just to let people see it.
Nice.
Because it's really uncanny.
I am a priest.
All right, next one.
Yeah, don't murder. Murder is different than killing. We can go.
You know what a murder is, people.
It's like, hey, I don't like that guy, I'm going to kill him. When you're in a battle, you're like,
it's against the law anyway. Yeah. Don't murder because you'll go to prison. And God doesn't like it either. Nobody it's one of the few times I think people all universally agree with God.
Except for, Cain. But
I'm talking like in like sane people. Cain got jealous. It's like, your guy's smoke is better than mine. Like, it was tripping.
Smoke is better.
Like, he was tripping. He clearly had some demons to work out.
This guy's smoke is smelling good. All right, I'm
All
sorry.
right. Next one. Thou shalt not commit adultery.
What is the definition of adultery?
Being an adult in a tree.
Immoral sexual act.
Immoral sexual act. Cheating on your husband or wife.
Well, adultery is also premarital like relations.
Is it?
Technically.
Is it? Technically?
But
I don't know, because there's like some churches that say it's not.
Voluntary sexual intercourse between a married person and a person who is not his or her spouse is considered adultery.
All right.
Sexual immorality would probably be more of like they're not married but they're engaged.
Yeah, because like I always thought adultery is between a married person.
Yeah, that's the technical.
there's a difference
definition, for
between
sure.
a biblical adultery and society adultery.
But again, realize these next couple commandments are specifically for people with people. Anyway, number 8.
But I mean, you think that they weren't sleeping around that's a question that gets asked to me.
Oh, for sure. That's why
They
they're like,
were.
hey, don't do this. Sexual immorality is huge in God's eyes as like a no-no. And it's like one of the small things that like in the Council of Jerusalem later on in the Bible, whenever Gentiles were being converted, they were like, well, you don't have to get circumcised. You don't have to, become a Jew and practice every one of the feasts and Passover and all that. But what you need to do as a Christian, even though you're not Jewish, is one of the things is be sexually pure. Like, do not be sexually immoral. Like, that's one of the, also don't drink blood and eat animals that are sacrificed to idols and stuff like that. But, yeah, that's going to be pretty universal and unanimous. It's going to be one of the things that's like punishable by death, by stoning. It's kind of crazy.
There was a lot of sexual immorality going around all the time.
Yeah. That doesn't mean, what are you trying to say with that? It's not good. We need to stop being sexually immoral.
I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying
that, yeah.
So in our culture, right, in American culture,
people cheat like as a Olympic
I'm
sport.
not talking about cheating on your wife, but like, because you said that even premarital sex. Well, in our culture, that's
I guess
like
that's not
normal,
technically adultery, though.
That's a normal thing. Like, it's actually
it's like encouraged.
You're looked at as a weirdo if you don't have premarital.
Well, let me
sex.
ask you a question, Nathan. Do you ever buy a car without test driving it?
That's what I'm saying. Stuff like that, right? People say things like that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that just by looking up the definition specifically, it's like you said, a married person and not with his married individual. Because marriage is entering into a covenant.
What'd you say, Josh?
Reuben? Didn't he hire a prostitute?
That was Judah who saw. It was Judah, and it was Tamar. Yeah.
Yeah, Judah.
It was like
Tamar.
his son's wife, who he just ignored.
His daughter-in-law.
Yeah,
he hired her as a prostitute.
Well, she dressed up.
He didn't know everybody. Like, if you're just
he still found a prostitute.
Yeah, so he was. She was someone who normally just found prostitutes, and yeah,
it wasn't a big deal for him to do that, I guess.
All right, next one.
Number 8.
Thou shalt not steal. Yes, that includes that candy bar from the gas station.
You steal candy bars from the gas station?
No, I don't. I'm just saying.
That one's like the most obvious. I feel like if you're going to be like, yes, that thing you might not think is stealing. That's like the most clear. This is stealing.
Not think it's stealing. I think it's pretty clear.
Yes, going to your coworker's office and taking his pen is stealing.
That's all right. That's not stealing.
See, that's a more example of like, yes.
That's not
what
stealing.
Yes, it is. It's not your property.
You can get your pen back easily. We work together.
Oh, so if you can get your stolen property back easily,
no, it's because stealing? It's not leaving the property. It's still at work.
Nah, I take them home.
Yeah, right.
I use the same pen until it's dead. I literally keep
unless
it in my
it's
pocket.
Like a Mont Blanc or something.
What about getting a crazy good deal on something and the person selling it doesn't know the value of it too well, and then
that's just a good business move.
Is it? Or
I sell used cars.
Did you just get a steal?
No, I have one for you guys.
Okay.
How about you're scanning your stuff at Sam's Club and you think you scanned everything and you go outside and you start putting your stuff away and then you're like, oh man, I missed like two
You
items.
look at your receipt.
You look at your receipt and you realize, and is that stealing?
If you don't go back and pay for them, yes.
What happens if you realize it at home?
You've left the premises.
Go back tomorrow.
It. No, at that point you've left the premises with it, and it's just kind of like it is what it is at that point.
I
didn't do it on
that
purpose.
If you hold,
you didn't do it on purpose.
If you're convicted,
you didn't do it on purpose. It just ended up in your bag. Like,
If you have to
what
think
if somebody
about
was
it-
walking by and just dropped the banana in your bag? It's like, did you actually steal the banana? No, it just
That's
ended up in your
different.
bag.
but that doesn't ever happen. Ever. I'm pretty sure.
I'm
No,
going to
if
start
you're-
dropping bananas in.
If you're convicted of it and you realize it and you think it like, man, I think I stole this, then
Yeah.
you should act upon your conviction.
Yeah.
If,
No, I agree.
but I believe to me, it's like I would feel like I need to go back and pay for it. And fun fact, a lot of people think that they could just like, that's like a big thing now with the self-checkout machines. Like you could just not scan or fake scan. They see everything and they don't capture you on purpose. What these places do, like Target and Walmart, they actually
add it
started
up.
doing a thing where they'll keep a file and they won't prosecute you till what you stolen adds up to or exceeds $2,000, where they can actually get you with the felony. So they'll let you. Like, so a lot of people think they're getting away with it, and there's so many
but how
cameras.
can they tell it's you?
I mean, facial recognition is pretty easy. There was like a huge story with like this TikTok influencer that happened to. Like, they got arrested because she just does that on the regular, and she like vlogs herself doing it. It's kind of stupid, but anyway. Yeah, if you recognize it, you're convicted. That's stealing.
You're putting way too much emphasis on the. First of all, you know who works at. So like these like high school kids are not sitting there all keeping track
They're
of
machines. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. 100% they do.
It's AI.
And you
that
can't
just
be asset
keeping
protection
track.
as a high school kid. They don't hire high school kids for that.
No, yeah, you have to be 2 years removed of high school.
Absolutely. Minimum.
Yeah,
Minimum.
Those guys are
And
they're doing
and
it.
2 safety classes.
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah, don't steal. I think everybody pretty much knows.
Yeah, we know what stealing isn't or isn't, but you'd be surprised how many people steal on a daily for some odd reason. It's weird.
I steal people's hearts.
Oh.
Nick, that's nah.
All right, next one.
Number 9.
Thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor.
Big deal in the ancient world, and I feel like it's
Even
not.
now.
I don't know. Is it really as much nowadays? Like, when do you bear? Like, don't lie on your neighbor.
Yes, don't claim you were raped and you weren't.
I guess
Putting
it's
people
huge
in
now.
prison.
Never mind. It's still
What are you
very
talking about?
relevant. More than stealing, I guess.
That happens all the time.
Yeah, the
I
Me
mean,
Too. Well, I guess
How
not.
many like injury like claims where there were just nothing ever happened, but then they go and sue you because they say they you punched them and whatever. You know what I mean? It's just like there's a bunch of
I mean,
stuff like that, where people
especially
just
in
work
illegal
stuff and
comp.
try to sue.
Workers' comp. Okay, this is super
no,
relevant.
but sometimes workers' comp is true, but then the majority of that TV show is Shameless. The guy's always like faking an injury to get a lawsuit going.
Mm-hmm.
People chasing lawsuits like that. You might get away with it your whole life, and then you're gonna face your actions on Judgment Day, right? Yeah. And that's like a clear. You should not be doing that. It's just not good.
Yeah,
you shouldn't be even gossip. I mean, I look at gossiping as bearing false witness, like just saying mistrue, starting rumors.
Well,
I guess you could say that.
If you're
not
adding
gossiping,
to
I meant to say
story-
starting rumors.
Well, saying, but it's also like some translations say bearing false testimony. So that's like more like you're saying, like, I don't know. Yeah. Sitting on the stand. He did it, Your Honor, and he didn't do it. You know what I mean? That's pretty. Why?
It's crazy because everybody says lawyers are liars, but in reality, it's the criminals that are lying. The lawyers just upholding the law.
Most of the time, the lawyers know that they're going through specific law avenues so that they can get. It's like loopholes. That's different. Anyway, number 10.
Not in Suits. I'm just gonna keep bringing up TV shows from now on. All right. Next one, last one. Right. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, donkey, or anything that is your neighbor's.
Yeah.
Even if your neighbor has nice stuff.
Especially that sweet, sweet donkey.
Yeah, that donkey and the ox. Okay. So what's a modern day version of a donkey?
It's just like the difference between coveting and like being jealous. Yeah, like you want that guy's car. You don't want like, oh, I want to get a car like that one day. I want to work hard. Like, I hate that Nathan has that nice car. I want his car. I want what's his because it's his. And I hate him for what he has.
Who does that?
A lot of people.
I don't know. Yeah. People do that.
That's specifically. Like people hate on people. Being a hater is coveting your neighbor. And hater culture is like, again, another one of those things that's still relevant today.
And the wife, like, don't be angry if somebody has a beautiful wife.
Well, going after your wife, that's like committing two of them. It's like people will sleep. Like I've heard, I don't know if this is real or anything, but I heard like that's like a thing Drake does is specifically he'll go, if he doesn't like you or whatever, he'll go for your girl specifically because it's your girl. And he does that to people and has done that to a lot of other celebrities because he wants what's yours. And there's this idea that's like coveting. It's like, it's not even that he wants that thing, but it's because it's yours, he wants it.
Huh. You learn something new every day, I guess.
Who?
Drake. And I don't know.
The rapper?
Is he really a rapper?
Oh, okay.
Yes. He's considered a rapper. And he's Jewish. These are his laws.
Okay.
You shouldn't covet your neighbor's wife's goods. It's very... Just that tells you immediately what you should or shouldn't do.
Yeah. Okay. And that is the 10 Commandments. Now, it's interesting to note the response to this. The way that the Israelites... The words in the next couple of verses after God says this and ends the commandments here in verse 18 of chapter 20, it says that all the people, they witnessed the thunderings, the lightning flashes, the sound of the trumpet, and the mountain smoking. And when they saw it, they trembled and stood afar off. And then they said to Moses, you speak with us and we will hear, but let not God speak with us, lest we die.
They were scared to die.
But it's like, you look at what's going on and the greater context of the situation. And the fact that they were so surface level, like they saw this scary thing, and rather than understanding the gravity of the situation, they took this very earthly view. Like they were just weak-minded people. Like they're not understanding that God is establishing a personal relationship with each one of them as an entire nation. And I like the way that the Bible Project kind of quoted this section. What happens here is that instead of them becoming a kingdom of priests like God intended, they wanted to become a kingdom with priests, like to have, like they're Moses, you go talk to God. We don't want that personal conversation. We're too afraid of all this other stuff that instead of believing that God didn't just take us out here to burn us up, but this is supposed to represent God showing himself to us, we're afraid based on what we see and we're not paying attention to what we hear. And I'm not trying to make a sermon. That does sound very sermonly, but it's just, it shows the point, the mindset of this generation of Israelites.
Yeah, sometimes the loudest people are the guiltiest people. So after God said all this, they're like, all these people that are thieves, murderers, adulterers, they're like, oh, yeah, we don't want to be a part of listening to any of this. You go, Moses, so we don't die.
Yeah, it's just like, why would you think you would die? God didn't say that. God said, do this and I will come near me. He called them near. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verses 12 or 11 to 12 talks about this instance when Moses is recanting this to the next generation. It says, then you came near and stood a foot at the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire in the midst of heaven, with darkness, cloud, and thick darkness. And the Lord spoke to you out of the midst of the fire. You heard the sound of the words, but saw no form. You only heard a voice. So he declared to you his covenant, and which he commanded you to perform, the 10 Commandments, and he wrote them on 2 tablets of stone. And the Lord commanded me in that time to teach you the statutes and judgments, that you may observe them in the land which you cross over. This establishes the fact that, again, they heard this voice. They all were audibly hearing God. They didn't see anything but the lightning, the smoke. And instead of heeding God's voice, they were more afraid of what they saw. And they kind of separated themselves. They put that first barrier between themselves and God after everything that happened and pushed Moses into this position. Again, calling back to what we said in the beginning of the episode, Moses kind of like, not begrudgingly, but he didn't ask for this. He's following this. And God, I would have gotten upset. I would have been like, why? It's almost insulting. Like this not vulnerable moment, but God taking this moment to like, I'm going to represent, I want you to see me. I want to show you something cool. And they reject him immediately. And it's like, then you look at that and it's like, of course they immediately like worship a golden cat. You know what I mean? Like this their mindset, what they were in their core.
Right. But then again,
sucked.
it doesn't help that he showed up like as this
in the scariest way possible.
Yeah, it's super scary. A smoke monster that will kill you if you touch the mountain. Yeah. And
I guess that's
his
fair
voice
too.
sounds like thunder. Yeah, it's definitely scary, man.
I'll give that to you. Exodus 20, Deuteronomy 4, it also covers the Ten Commandments. But this is just a really important part because in the next couple chapters, from chapter 20, verses 20 through to chapter 23 of Exodus, we're not going to read it, but it goes more in depth of this covenant. In Leviticus, we're going to cover a lot more as well. But here you get a tidbit of like laws about slavery, male and female slaves, laws pertaining to personal injury, personal property, personal integrity. Specifically in chapter 22, they go over sorcery, bestiality, idolatry, the punishments for that, the exploitation of foreigners and widows and orphans. That's a big deal for God. They want you to take care. And I'm glossing over this because we're going to go a little more in depth in this in the future. But, different money uses, reiteration of the previous laws about worship. In chapter 23, God enters and talks about how they should serve and how they should worship on the Sabbath, national festivals. There'll be 3 national festivals that God tells them they have to celebrate. There's the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is a memorial essentially of the Exodus. Remember that they were to have no rising bread, essentially just that state of readiness, no yeast in the house. You don't have to wait for the bread to rise, just water, flour, and you're ready to go because you're ready for God to take you out of that place. You have the Feast of the First Fruits, which is just a celebration of the Lord's provision, how he provided with manna, how God is taking care of them and providing them with water. And then the Feast of Ingathering, or celebration for the Lord's bounty for the rest of agricultural provision. And then chapter 23 goes into a very interesting passage. I'm not going to have Nathan read it all, but he stops here, and it's funny. Before we get to that, there's like, you shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. I always found that as like a really weird thing.
Why is that so interesting?
Every time I read it, I never thought of, like, I've never looked at a baby goat or a calf or something like that and then like took the milk from its mother and then boiled in it. It's just very specific. It just always trips me up. Sorry. For those of you that are interested, that's Exodus chapter 23 verses 19. But yeah, the first fruits of your land you shall bring to the house of the Lord. You shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. Like, it just seems very out of place. Anyway, in chapter 23, verses 20 through 33, effectively, it's God makes a promise. And Nathan, if you could actually read verse 20 to 24, I want this to kind of be read.
Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Do not provoke him, for he will not pardon your transgressions. For my name is in him. But if you indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy to your enemies and an adversary to your adversaries. For my angel will go before you and bring you into the Amorites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Canaanites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, and I will cut them off. Those are all people that God's going to cut off.
All different peoples in the land of Canaan. Yeah.
You shall not bow down to their gods, nor serve them, nor do according to their works, but you shall utterly overthrow them and completely break down their sacred pillars.
So, and that kind of ties back to what Josh was saying earlier about the lowercase gods and the customs, as like they worship these things, but God's going to tell them to go and clean out completely. Now, this angel of the Lord is a figure that's come up many times in before, and this isn't going to be the last time it comes up, because there's a specific contrast between this and what happens here in a future story. Briefly, after the fall into sin at the golden calf incident, God removes his presence from the people. And during a discord between Moses and God, where Moses is interceding for the Israelites and calling upon the presence to remain with them, God says, go, I will still keep my commandment. I'll still keep my promise. I will send an angel before you to do all the things I said I would do. And Moses returns with a cry that he wants more. Like, if we don't go with you, then none of the promised land, nothing is worth it, right? But here in Exodus 23, God promises his angel before them to bring them into the promised land, and God's presence is with them. And why I bring up the contrast between the two is because me personally, this angel of the Lord that carries the name of the Lord that cannot forgive, that will guide them along the way and will promise provision and good health and promise success, and take on the enemies of Israel, I believe is another way of like God's presence being with them in the form of pre-incarnate Christ.
No.
And there's no. Okay.
Well, I'm just saying no. Only reason why is because Jesus is not an angel. He's the son of God. He's a son of man. He is not nowhere. Even later on, the angels bow down before him, but he's not an angel. Like just how we say God is not an angel, but you know who can be. You know who can take the form of anything would be the Holy Spirit.
Okay.
The Holy Spirit, which is in us, we can speak through the power of the Holy Spirit, right? So what does the Holy Spirit also do? The Holy Spirit is a guide.
It's true.
Right? Is a conscience, and it's also through the power of the Holy Spirit, through the power of God. And the other thing is it has its name in him. So the Holy Spirit is basically tied in with God.
Okay.
Right? And the other part is that he's not forgiving. That like the Holy Spirit is someone that's
a good point.
It's very like you don't mess around with the Holy Spirit, so
yeah,
it's the presence of God moving.
Yeah, that is a good point. I'll give that to you. That it could be God's representation in the form of that triune Godhead, the Holy Spirit being the angel of the Lord. I go back to Jesus just as like a fallback. You know what I mean? I kind of say that all the time.
Yeah, we know that's your default.
That's my default.
It's your default setting.
It's for those reasons where we talked about where, even take Hagar, the angel of the Lord, but he says, I have seen the God who sees, you know what I mean? And there's little indicators that give where there's a level of authority given to this quote unquote angel of the Lord, which is beyond just an angel, which angel is just a messenger of the Lord.
Yeah.
There is this difference between this angel and an angel that God said he will send later that's not carrying the presence in that specific way. It's not carrying that same weight. If that makes sense. That's why I brought the contrast. And again, either the Holy Spirit or a pre-incarnate Jesus. I mean, God is God. He's one singular being with three persons. It's hard to. I'm not going to go over here and completely unsolve the mystery of the Trinity, but I'm saying that you're right, and what we have to understand is this.
There's a separation between them all. Yeah, there's a distinction and a difference of them all.
Well, some rabbis, to be fair, I did do some research. Some rabbis and different Jewish traditions hold that this angel is not God in any way, because that phrase it will not forgive your transgressions. And they argue that it lacked the authority to forgive. Like it can't forgive even if it wanted to. But there's a distinguish between an angel here that can't forgive because it can't and it doesn't have the authority, and then one that just, if you wrong it, it won't because it just decides not to. There's a very big difference. So do your own research. Tell me what you guys think. You guys who are listening, if you believe that, we'd love to have you guys email us and give us your opinion on that at greatermeaningpodcast@gmail.com. But
all right, guys, look out for that merch.
Well, we're not done. We're almost done.
Oh,
almost done here, guys.
I just went into a mode.
Yeah.
When I hear you mention email, I'm already like merch.
We're ready for merch.
It's like,
but chapter 24 is where we're going to end today's episode. Two things happen in this chapter. First, there's a ratification of the covenant. Essentially, Moses gathers 12 altars, and let me pull it up specifically. It's the first 8 verses. God says to Moses specifically, "Come up, Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and the 70 elders who are of elders of Israel, and worship from afar. And Moses alone shall come near the Lord, but you shall not come near, nor shall the people go with him." And Moses, what he does is he rises early in the morning at the foot of the mountain, and he erects 12 pillars representing each of the 12 tribes of Israel. And he burns a burnt offering and a sacrificed peace offering of oxen. And he says that he takes half the blood, puts it in basins, and then the other half of the blood he sprinkles on the altar. And then he takes the book of the covenant, which is this covenant that's established between God and Israel here at the mountain, and read it in the hearing of the people. And all that the Lord said, and they all said back to him in unison, all that the Lord said we will do and be obedient. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people. And this is the blood of the covenant which the Lord has made with you according to all these works. This is the symbolizing, again, the ratification of this covenant. They're in agreement. They're officially in this covenant subjugation before God. And then it says that Moses goes up with Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and the 70 elders on the mountain. And there's this beautiful thing that happens. Nathan, actually, I'm going to have you read this. This will be the final part of reading. If you could read verses 9 through 18.
Then Moses went up, also Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel. And they saw the God of Israel, and there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of sapphire stone. And it was like the very heavens in its clarity. But on the nobles of the children of Israel he did not lay his hand. So they saw God, and they ate and drank. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Come up to me on the mountain and be there, and I will give you tablets of stone, and the law and commandments which I have written, that you may teach them." So Moses arose with his assistant Joshua, and Moses went up to the mountain of God. And he said to the elders, "Wait here for us until we come back to you. Indeed, Aaron and Hur are with you. If any man has a difficulty, let him go to them." Then Moses went up into the mountain, and a cloud covered the mountain. Did you want me to keep reading? Because you always put your thumb up, and it confuses me. Where do you want me to
stop? I was
stop?
Actually just thumbs up for Josh. I realized what I did there.
All right, you want to finish it?
Yeah, read the last 2 verses.
All right.
Yeah, finish off the verse, because that's where we're going to.
Now the glory of the Lord rested on Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And on the 7th day, he called to Moses out of the midst of the cloud. The sight of the glory of the Lord was like a consuming fire on the top of the mountain in the eyes of the children of Israel. So Moses went into the midst of the cloud and went up into the mountain. And Moses was on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. Anyway, I just finished reading that. We didn't edit a bathroom break.
Smooth. I'm going to laugh when he keeps that in. He just did that. Oh, man.
It's definitely staying in now.
We're pretty, yeah.
Sorry, guys, if there's been 8 minutes of a bathroom
Dude,
break.
we lost everybody. This is like one of my favorite parts of this episode, other than the whole 10 Commandments of fire.
Why
thing.
would you go to the bathroom right before
Man, it was
the
bad.
end?
I really had to go. I really was
You
trying.
weren't
not
even
to,
showing any signs of bathroom.
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm watching Nathan. I'm listening to Nathan read, and every verse was getting worse and worse.
Yeah, I was reading it slow too.
I was like, oh gosh.
By the way,
finish.
just on a footnote of that, I know that we're back from the bathroom break, but I work an hour away from home, right? I drive an hour to get home. I had to go to the bathroom very, very badly at the end of the nights at work, but I didn't want to make people wait on me. So I was like, you know what? I'll just hold it because I'm good like that.
Okay.
10 minutes in on the drive, I'm crying and begging God for like, please don't make this happen. I'm like, I just got this car. I'm punching my legs. I had to go. So it was
Dude, find the gas station.
I did, but it was hard. There's so much traffic. It's hard to get off. Like, I was like the whole time just punching I have bruises on my leg because I kept punching myself so hard, like to just like hold it, like just please hold. It's like in Braveheart where the guy's like hold with the spikes. He's telling him to hold and hold and hold. Boy, it was bad. Anyway, get back to the thing.
Hold the door.
Something about God.
So Moses went up with Aaron and named that an Abihu 70 elders. And they saw the God of Israel, and under his feet were like paved work of sapphire stones. And it was like the very heavens in its clarity. That's insane.
I mean,
talk about once again.
This is something that it's skipped over.
So confusing.
It's skipped. I don't. All the stories of the golden calf. They didn't. That old movie of like the 10 Commandments. They skipped this part. Nothing ever shows this. Nobody ever talks about this part in the Moses
because
story.
how are you supposed to describe this?
They see a vision of God, and under his feet were like blue stones.
No, they show that. They show his feet.
They
and
do?
Under, in the 10 Commandments, they show it.
They really do?
Yeah, I remember that scene.
I don't remember that at all. I watched it when I was like 8.
Oh, you
Well,
probably
the
were
thing is-
asleep at the end of the movie.
The thing
At
is,
the very end.
One of those double VCR.
you keep
ones.
saying they
Yeah.
see a vision. It doesn't. It doesn't say it was a vision. It literally just says,
Good
and they
point.
saw the God of Israel.
Did that mean
If it
like
was a vision,
underneath
that
his
would be
feet?
weird if they just start eating with a vision.
Did you think that them seeing his feet underneath his sapphire, which is like blue, do you think that it's like they see through the fire and the smoke, and it's almost like a portal to where you can see through to the heavens, and it's
That
like
could
the
be.
sky is blue when you look up,
That
and you
could
can
be.
see from underneath how he sits on the throne, kind of like Ezekiel's vision, where you see
Yeah.
under him was like a work of glass.
Yeah.
It's almost like God
or a
showed
mothership,
this
like a
see-through-
starship or like a rocket ship, where he comes out and it's just a really high end. I mean, honestly, yeah, it sounds a lot like Star Wars or any one of those spaceship movies where it's a platform. He's standing on a platform. Why is he standing? I don't know. Could it be that there's looking through the fire, the smoke, and they see the portal? But then again, they're eating with him after that. So it's like
that's an important point. That's kind of what I
What?
wanted to touch on. The eating and drinking. 'Cause
how are they looking at because later on, and it's not. This isn't like I'm skipping ahead because it's about There's no spoilers here because the Bible's been around for so long. But later on, Moses asked to see the face of God, and
he says to see his glory.
Whoa, spoiler.
it's not a
Just playing.
spoiler. But in other
And
words,
God
it's
allows
like,
his goodness to pass by him, and he sees his back.
Yes, we know this. But is this saying that they're seeing the face of God?
They see God. And there's a lot of verses that say no man has seen God and lived, like 1 John 4, Genesis 32:30, Exodus 32:20, Judges 6:22.
could it be at this point they were no longer just men?
Well, what do you mean? Like the nobles and Moses and all them were not men anymore?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't
Explain.
know.
Go more. You don't
because-
drop that. Explain yourself.
I mean, it would just be like just simple DNA manipulation to be no longer a man. Like you're now an alien, a humanoid.
There's an important verse here because it says that he did not lay his hand, so they saw God, but he protected them physically, just like how he will with Moses when his glory or his goodness passes by.
No, they saw him from
hides
a
him at the
distance. That's
cleft.
what it is. They saw him.
Well,
from
it was
a
also a distance. Yeah, he didn't go up to it, but he saw from a distance. They were covered by his hand. God allowed this moment to represent himself. And now eating and drinking is a sign of intimacy, just like there's actually like an Arabic term that I had it written down here. Essentially, it's like there is bread and salt between us, showing that there's like a connection between two parties or two people that's still used to this day. Now, I want us to take this imagery and this imagining of like, this is at the ratification of the old covenant. And God takes his most close or the most important people that are going to represent and spread this authority and leadership to the rest of them. And he has this moment where he represents himself and they commune together. And now think about that compared to the New Testament when Jesus takes his disciples into the room, has the Last Supper. He is establishing the new covenant of his body and his blood poured out and ripped up for them for the sanctification and for the sacrifice. And he eats and drinks with them as well. And you have God there present at both covenant markers. And it's funny that they named Nadab and Abihu, even though we know that's not the only sons of Aaron. But those are going to be the two that they'll offer a profane fire. They'll make a mistake and they'll be eliminated.
Before. It's interesting
there's a connection I wanted to pour into and it could be a stretch, but that idea of them, and then even with Judas being there at the communion, at the Last Supper, and he also betrayed Jesus. Like there's like that idea, like just because you commune with God doesn't mean that you can't still fall away.
That might be a little bit of a stretch, but yeah, I get it.
I'm just saying. I thought that was an interesting connection that I came upon. That idea of like the two covenants, the two ratifications, and eating and drinking. And then again, at the new, when God takes us, when Christ comes back for the church, we're going to sup with him at his table. Like again, this idea of eating and drinking means that they communed, they connected, they worshipped in a way, right? They confirmed. It's a level of agreement, right? It's a level of closeness that they've achieved. I thought that was cool.
All right.
Yeah. So they saw God, and then they ate and drank, and then the Lord says, "Come on."
Because why would they drop a detail like that otherwise? Like you see God, the first thing you do is whip out your bread and just like, all right, well anyway, it's lunchtime.
In my head, it's like in my head, it's like they saw a glimpse of God. I don't think they like.
No, I think that they just because you see someone far away doesn't like that. It's like, oh, I met. I saw someone on concert. That doesn't mean like you actually see them. You see them when you're up close and personal, right? So you can see
I feel like
God.
they just
and
saw
plus,
God's feet.
If they're at the,
they saw God and they saw that was like a distinguishing marker.
He's all the way up on top of the mountain, and they're like down, like.
Well, it's like. And then after this, God says to Moses specifically, like, come up here, I'm going to give you tablets of stone of the law. And Moses takes Joshua with him and continues to go up further on the mountain. And just imagine being those guys, Aaron and his sons and the 70 elders are just staring at this sight, what they just experienced. And then Moses just goes in the midst of the cloud and disappears. Like he just walks into this fiery, presence that they can't get near either. And he was gone for 40 days and 40 nights. And there are so many other places in the Bible that 40 days, it's like it's a repeating theme. I don't know what it is about it specifically, but, Jesus spends 40 days and nights in the wilderness before beginning his missionary work. And then 40 days between his resurrection and his ascension. Elijah met with God after coming to the mountain of God after a 40-day journey of no eating and drinking. Noah and his family, 40 days of rain on the boat, 40 days and 40 nights. Jonah, the city of Nineveh, after he preaches to them, spoiler alert, repents for 40 days and 40 nights to avoid destruction. Like there's a repeating theme there. It's a number.
Lent's 40 days?
I don't know. I think so.
Yeah.
It is interesting because 40 days, 40 nights, Jesus, while he's fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, who comes into the midst? The devil comes into the midst. 40 days and 40 nights, who comes into the midst here with the Israelites? The devil comes into the midst, as with the golden calf.
He finds the moments of physical weakness. Like I said, that you see Moses, their leader, disappear, and now he's gone for a long time. And all you see when you look at the mountain is, it says before a couple of verses, they see this glimpse, like Nathan said, this vision of God. But when they're back down and all the people together, all they see is fire. All they see is like a all-consuming fire on the top of the mountain and a dark cloud. It says in Deuteronomy, dark, very dark cloud. It was just completely black. Right. And so they're just like, Moses is gone. And that's where we're going to pick up next episode with the story of the golden calf. And you can kind of see, those 40 days of weakness, the tempter comes and tries to throw a wrench in the plans of God. And we're going to see that, unfortunately, the Israelites, after going over listening audibly to these commandments spoken to them physically by God, immediately break commandment number 1 and 2. So that's fun. But that is the end of this episode. My greater meaning, when I look at the story of the, arrival to Mount Sinai and all the events that take place, is just God is merciful. God is a God of love. God is a God that will provide, he will sustain, but he does have that requirement of obeying his commandments. God's love language, and this is something that's overused in sermons and stuff like that, if you have the 5 love languages or whatever, God's love language is obedience. And as God's children today, these 10 commandments, do we have to follow every letter of the law? No, because we're no longer underneath the authority of the law through the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. But these are rules, these are things that God places in our heart when we live a life pleasing to Christ. And when Christ enters our hearts, these are still laws and commandments that we are to follow and that we are to obey. And through that obedience and that seeking to walk along the statutes that God laid out for us, he has mercy, he has love, he has forgiveness if we were to mess up. But it's just depending on how you come with your heart and your life. And that's what I kind of gained from this idea of this story. Joshua?
My greater meaning would probably be more, I would say, towards the end of the episode where God is revealing himself to them. And he didn't have to, that's the, he didn't have to show himself, but sometimes he will do that because there will be times that great distress will come into our lives, and he shows us a glimpse of his goodness, of himself, kind of as don't forget that I am here and I am with you. It's not just, you're not just praying up to nothing, just to air, I am here with you throughout the whole way. And I like that. I like that he did, show them almost like a comforting enough for them to even, eat and drink right there, just kind of as, in my opinion, as like a celebration, because, hey, if God showed himself to me in a non-scary way, right, in a non-fire, mountain, thunder type of way, but this seems more like a calm, loving, fatherly type of way. It would definitely be very comforting. So that would be more my greater meaning.
So you said, instead of being afraid, they should have seen that as a comfort, like God is wanting to show himself to them.
Yeah. I mean, if you're
think it's
comfortable
nice,
enough to eat and drink in the presence of God because you just saw him, then you're probably not afraid.
Yeah, for sure. Nathan?
My greater meaning of the 10 Commandment episode, it's one of the commandments kind of encompasses my greater meaning in general. God's kind of laying down the law and giving the Israelites the means of staying righteous, right, and being holy before God. And there's a commandment in there that everybody kind of knows. It's one of the most well-known commandments. It's keep the Sabbath day and remember to keep it holy. And we kind of talked a little bit about it. Most people, myself included, we interpret that to mean go to church on Sundays or whatever day you hold Sabbath, right? It's the go to church day with your family. But God's like saying in that verse, I mean, and I while I was reading it, it kind of hit me what I was going to say for my greater meaning then. Is that whole, like, God's asking for the day for you to keep it holy, right? And I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I could just talk about myself. Like, do I keep a day out of the week truly holy to the Lord? It's a day of rest, but it should also be holy. But the two need to go together. I personally, I mean, I'll be honest, I'll just go to church, have some family time, and then I kind of spend the rest of the day just doing things I enjoy doing. And then I asked myself, like, after I read it, and as we were going through this episode, it was in my head. I was asking myself, is that me giving a day to the Lord? Truly? Like, that's the best I could give God, right? The God that gave me eternal life and salvation and freed me from so many things and did so many great things in my life. This is what I can give to God, is just like a hour and a half service of the morning, a lunch with the family, and then now I'm gonna be going through 4 hours of Netflix the afternoon, right? Now I'm gonna be doing some meat Sunday fun day. It's my time now because I'm resting. I think I missed the point, guys. I think that I'm not seeing the actual point God is trying to say. Keeping it holy. I've been spending more time with the Lord, and the more time I spend with the Lord, the more I want to spend time with the Lord. It's weird. I didn't want to spend time with the Lord as much before. And then I learned also earlier this week that God puts the love of the Lord in you. It's actually a gift from the Lord. Puts that love inside of you. And I feel like if you truly want to know, if you really do, now you don't have to, believe it or not, this is always your choice with loving God and truly trying to get close to God. But if you really want to love God, I think the first step is that commandment right there, that setting aside a day of the week and keeping it truly holy. And the way I look at it, like, pretend like somebody's setting a day out of pretend like the person you love the most in the world called you and said, hey, this Wednesday, it's just going to be me. My whole day is going to be dedicated to whatever spending time with you. That's how you should set aside your day for holiness with God. That whole day, you should be excited. And your whole day should be dedicated to spending time with your Lord. And I believe, and I'm going to test it out, and I'll tell you guys how it's coming in the next few weeks. I believe if I do that, at first it'll be difficult because I'm human. But I think over time, it's probably going to get easier and easier. And that's why kind of greater meaning. This stuff, because we're reading in the Old Testament, but because of Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit on our lives, what sounds to be hard is living a righteous life through the Holy Spirit. You don't do it on your own. It's the Holy Spirit that gives you the strength to live this life. And the more you pursue God, the more God meets you way more and gives you the strength to live that life of righteousness.
Mm-hmm.
And the easier it'll be to truly set aside a day that's the Sabbath and to keep it holy. And that's my greater meaning.
Beautiful. And there you have it, guys. That is the 10 Commandment episode right before the unfortunate golden calf incident episode, but
it's gonna be
exciting. It's just you got one job and they immediately can't. Anyway, thank you so much for you guys for listening. Thank you for all the support we've received and all the downloads and all the follows. If you want to support us and you want us to grow, please like, share, subscribe, give us a 5-star review, share us with your friends and family. You can find us on social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Even email us your greater meaning, or maybe some points or some things that you thought were interesting, or something that you think we missed or maybe got wrong. And email us at greatermeaningpodcast@gmail.com. That's greatermeaningpodcast@gmail.com. As always, I'm Andrew. That's Nathan. And that's also Josh. We appreciate you guys and can't wait to hear from you guys next time, or to see you next time, or talk to you next time.
I love you.
Have a wonderful time.
Bye. Remember,
Bye.
Obey the 10 Commandments. And don't
Yeah,
covet.
do that.
Coveting is bad.
Don't covet.